Living mulches in the garden. There are so many different options. Today we're going to discuss what's my favorite perennial living mulch I have growing out here in my backyard food forest. Living mulches, generally speaking, are plants that are going to be growing closer to the ground, and there's many different reasons why somebody may choose to have some living mulches in their farm, in their garden. In my case, one of the main reasons for a living mulch is to actually reduce evaporation, protect the soil from the sun, keep that moisture in the ground so I don't have to water as much. Farmers, on the other hand, may choose to grow living mulches as a way to stop erosion or to actually add nutrition into the soil. A lot of these living mulches are grown seasonally. Legumes, clovers, these sort of things often will fix nitrogen into the soil, and this is a cheap way, that farmers can actually add nutrition into the soil. So I've tried growing several different living mulches on this property, and the number one thing that I've run into, the issue that I've run into time and time again, is underwatering and having those plants dry out and perish. But there's one plant in particular, actually two, that I'm going to share with you today that have really done a great job surviving and thriving even in the dryness, the drought of summer that we have here in California. So this here is the main plant I want to discuss today. This is my favorite living mulch. This is oregano. Now what makes this plant so wonderful for me is that it's multi-use for one. So this is a culinary herb. We can use this in our cooking. We can dry this and have some nice seasoning on hand whenever we need it. Fresh stuff, come out to the garden, just pick some fresh leaves. But also, it's very easy to propagate, transplant, and spread. I can just pull out a little clump, and there'll be some roots attached, and I can transplant that anywhere else in the garden. That's how this little patch started. Just a little tiny plant like this, and now look at it. It's a good 3 feet by 3 feet nearly. And what I like to do is, as it starts to bush out, I'll kind of press it down, open up the center, and then you'll see some new growth starting to emerge. And all of this is just kind of overhang, as you can see, and it's protecting the soil. And wow, that smells really nice too as I'm rubbing throughout the plant. So this is a common theme throughout my garden. You'll see oregano growing here and there, working as a living mulch. Here's a little patch growing on my hugelkultur mound, so it's actually protecting the hugel mound. Then you see we've got sun gold tomatoes draped on top, keeping them off the soil. And here we've got another little patch of oregano trailing off the edge of this hugel mound. I find this to be quite beautiful. And if we look closely, you can see the little flowers on here. They're white with almost a pinkish tinge here. Well, hello, lady. And I always see the bees hanging out on the flowers, so it's a good beneficial insect attractor. Oregano would also work really well as a living mulch, maybe around some pavers. If you got some pathway stones and you want to fill in the gaps with some greenery, try oregano. Not only does it look nice, but it flowers and it'll actually smell good when you walk on it. So if you live in USDA climate zone 8 and above, this plant will perennialize, coming back year after year. Here in zone 9B, the plant will actually lose its leaves. It's like a deciduous tree. You'll be left with a soft woody stem. I usually cut that back, and then the following spring, the plant reemerges from the soil. And in colder climates, you can try to perennialize the plant simply by putting a mulch layer over the top throughout the winter, maybe some straw or wood chips, and then removing that in the spring, or even putting some row cover or some sort of greenhouse plastic over your patch. But overall, just a great living mulch to add into your garden. Wouldn't you say, Matilda Jean? So another one of my favorite living mulches is purslane. Purslane grows wild in many areas. A lot of this probably came up as wild purslane, even though I did some seeding a couple years back. But I've got purslane growing here and there. I always let it stick around. The leaves are edible, high in omega fatty acids. I like the flavor as well. And you can see how the density of the plant here, crisscrossing over itself, creates a really nice shade from the sun. And here's another example of some purslane. It's popped out and it's creeping to the left, to the right. And in a short amount of time, it'll cover quite a large area of soil. Same thing with the oregano. The purslane will die back in the winter and then reemerge, especially if you let it go to seed and drop its seed everywhere. It'll reemerge the following year. And here's some more purslane growing along the edge of this raised bed here. And oregano does like full sun until you start to get into the heat of summer, especially in hotter climates, and then it likes a little bit of shade. So if you can grow it in a place where maybe it's going to get a little bit more sun earlier in the year, but as trees come out of dormancy and create more shade, maybe it gets a little bit more coverage, that's probably going to work out best for you. So that's it. That's all I wanted to share with you guys today. It is a beautiful evening. I'm going to spend the rest of the night outside, give the dogs a wash, have a mono meal of some fruit out here. So with that, I want to thank you all for tuning in. Until next time, this is Dan from plantabundance.com. Take care. I'll be talking to you again soon.